welcome to New Eden Newsroom. I am hosting today. I'm Kurt Adrano. I'm also hosting with Marsha Mello.
Hello.
Today we have a very special episode. Areve, the subreddit, has hit 100,000 subscribers, and today we've invited as many moderators as we can at this time of day to join us. So, starting from the top, we have Der.
Hi, I'm Der.
Gibberish.
Hi, I'm Gibberish.
Judy.
Hello, Judy.
Shelby.
Hi, I'm Shelby.
Is it Spy 6 or Spy 7?
Spy 6. Hey, how's it going?
All right, there we go. So that's today's guest lineup. And we'll be talking about Reddit, the EVE Online community, and what's it like to be a moderator and such like. And on that note, what is the process behind becoming a mod as such? Like, how did you guys become mods? Is there like a recruitment thing?
I really wish that we could answer that we had a process behind becoming a moderator.
It's a little bit tricky actually, because it all started with the first. We gotta talk about first Aerodon, the original Areve moderator. That was way back in 2012 or 2013, I think, where I recall a lot of memes and sort of like war propaganda being shit posted, like a lot. And Aerodon was removing a whole bunch of them because they were just sort of spammy and they weren't really like EVE content, it was just regular memes. A lot of people were pissed about that and sort of made this huge thread about it. And it made the original Areve owner sort of wake up and be like, oh, you guys want him gone? Okay, here, he's gone. And, there was no discussion about it or anything like that.
Yeah, and then everyone was like, what do we do now?
Yeah, pretty much. But then it's like, we'll just have a vote of who you guys want to be moderator. And like, I saw that happening. I was pretty much a big poster at Areve at the time, and I thought this was a really bad idea if your mod team is just going to be a popularity contest of people from various alliances just becoming moderators. Like, I was sure that it was just going to be haywire with conflict. And so I made this big, long I think you can still find it. I can probably link it later somewhere if you guys want, where I wrote a thread called Flowers for Aerodon and how, it's just trying to bring some sanity back into the subreddit. And so instead of anything what I discussed happening, he was just like, Spy 6, you're a mod too. And I'm like, oh.
All right.
Yeah, okay, I guess. And then I get in the mod mail and everyone was like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, I became mod through the community vote. I think I had the most votes out of anyone, but that was mostly just because I shit posted on the subreddit a lot back then. A lot. And also, everyone in test voted for me.
May or may not have forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about to say.
A little bit.
Although, to be fair, you did have probably more qualifications because you were a moderator for Borderlands 2 or Borderlands.
Yeah, I think I was one of the only people who applied that was already a mod on a different subreddit. And so I actually knew how the mod queue and mod mail worked, and nobody else really did.
Well, it's worth mentioning, too, that this is also how Kriba became a moderator.
Yeah, because I think he was the only person who got more votes than I did.
Okay. And that was like a one-time thing. Like, since then, new moderators haven't been voted on. Were they, memed onto the moderator team? Like, with...
Yes. I said
a little bit. That was a lot later. So... a lot of time passes where we're just sort of, trying to figure out where we are in the whole mod hierarchy of things and trying to figure out, what should we be doing, how will we do things. And we were all discussing at the speed of mod mail at the time. We didn't even have a Skype group or anything yet. For the most part, we had Nwadi, who was actually really active at the time, who was in charge of our flares, our CSS, and, just probably one of the better mods of all of us at the time.
Better than all the mods we have now.
Whoa, buddy. Whoa, buddy.
I said
Just
it.
because you're right doesn't mean you should say it.
Well, I did. How about that? Yeah, we've never really had any like established process for adding moderators. As far as I know, the closest thing we have to a process now is we make you like a moderator on the Discord, and if you don't want to self-harm after about a month or two of that, and we start talking about whether we want to make you a subreddit mod.
Yep.
I think that's generally the process now.
Well, I think like the only one who's really been suggesting new subreddit mods lately is probably been me. Like with he who shall not be named. Sorry, Chevis. Because that was definitely, I was like, man, you know what? Chevis tries really hard on the Discord. He's super into it. He has a bit of a questionable post history, but it's not too bad. Blah blah. He'll be great, and I like hard vouched him in.
Yeah. On the other hand, he's fucking Chevis.
Yeah.
Your greatest accomplishment and your greatest shame.
Well, he's a really like active moderator, and he did a lot of good stuff for the sub, but he kind of just hit the point where I don't know, he just stopped caring as much.
And some of his shit posting was, giving us heat.
Yeah. we had
Most of it was really funny though.
Like, you can't really like pretty much all of it was really funny. But I'm gonna be real with Chevis. The real Chevis is the Kugutsumin Discord. Long ago, I figured out that Chevis would go there, and they would just peer pressure him into doing stuff, and he would. So like, there's a period for like 3 or 4 months where I just lurked Kugu and like I wait for Chevis to post. He'd start posting something, and then I knew I was like, all right, I gotta be ready to remove this. To take
they would just bully him into removing threads. Like, I bet you won't fucking remove that thread. Bet you won't.
Well, like they were bullying him. Well, actually, if you want to transition into the next topic, since it bridges perfectly here, but they were kind of bullying him into removing B4Rs. And they weren't entirely wrong. I'm not gonna go on an anti-Kugu thing because I like Kugu, but it sort of started with Chevis trying to figure out a way to really do it, because we had no way to really handle that sort of thing. Like, it's just some internet shit posters, on a forum. We're not equipped to deal with like suicide stuff. It's just not our thing. So like Chevis was trying to find a way to like actually like do it, but he didn't really have, I guess you could say, the reputation as the person who should be like ending B4Rs, I guess.
Yeah, Chevis was probably not the best standard bearer for this.
But he did do like memes aside, he did a lot of legitimate work on the back end to figure out what that was, because it wasn't just like okay, we're not allowing B4Rs anymore. You can't up and do that because people won't see the announcement. People don't read rules. There's all sorts of things, and then suddenly you'll get people posting a B4R thread, and then those are removed, so people just downvote it because it's against the rules now. And then there's someone who legitimately needs help who didn't know about the subreddit meta.
Yeah, we can't just cold cut off posts of people in crisis because we thought they sucked or because we wanted them off the subreddit or anything. Like we needed to have both like a proper method for moving them somewhere more appropriate, and also we needed to decide and determine whether there was actually a good justification for doing so, because like they're meaningful posts, right? Like a lot of them are people who are in legitimate crisis who look for support in their gaming community. So it was a really big decision that took us a while to work through.
Right.
Yeah.
You actually remember the history of how they were set up and who set them up?
It was Coffee Rocks was the original guy, right?
Yeah.
I remember when like we were going through the whole like trying to figure out how to transition these off, because we couldn't remove them. We had it had to be a transition for the reasons already stated. It's kind of put in this position where like I didn't know the history of B4R. Like I came into the team a little bit later with a little bit of drama with Spy6 actually. which is another story in and of itself. But he's the one who modded me. But I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know the history. I didn't know how to talk to, so I had to just ask around. Actually, Marsha, you were one of the people I talked to about it at one point while I was trying to figure that out. And like I asked around. Another person who helped out a lot was Rain.
I mean, I can tell you how it started. It was just one of the weird ways where, for some reason, around like wintertime, we would get a lot of self-posts of pilots either depressed or their girlfriend broke up with them and they're in a bad place. And it put us in this really bad position because you don't want to be like, nah, you can't do this, but at the same time, like, this is kind of not subreddit appropriate. So we sort of try to find like a middle ground sort of way of handling them where they'll be sort of titled and flared appropriately so that people who don't want to see them don't have to see them, and people will know how to handle those sort of threads.
Plus, the community was turning on them.
Kind of. It always depends. Like if B4R threads start ticking in frequency, then people get sick of them. If it's like once a season, then everyone's all supportive and they're caring. They don't, they're all there for it. But if it's you're getting 1 or 2 a month, then it gets on people's nerves. Like it was sort of like a roller coaster you had to ride and sort of deal with how to like manage the threads that would pop up.
I think it started as a response to John Bellicose, and I remember what's Coffee Rocks doing a video promotion with known people in the community. That. Yeah, and then they set up the flare, they set up all the channels on different servers. But then, as you say, it started to turn, and what you were saying was people putting up a B4R that was a genuine one, and people were getting really hostile in the comment section, and it was like, maybe this needs to be moved somewhere where they'll get the appropriate response.
Yeah, one of the primary reasons that we eventually had to remove them from the subreddit is because we're not a massive moderator team. We're not like a default subreddit where we have 30 or 40 moderators. We don't have universal time zone coverage, right? And we're not observing things like 24 hours a day nonstop. And so when you have people in crisis that are posting, looking for help, and you have a community that isn't receptive to it, people can post some really harmful shit that can really hurt the person who's posting. And we don't feel like we could take on the responsibility of being available enough to cover all of those threads 24 hours a day and remove that kind of like really like brutal shit that some people were starting to post.
There was one in particular. So we have a spam rule where if your account is 2 days young, basically, or under, less than 48 hours, you're gonna go to the spam queue on the subreddit. And this is like a rule that we cannot remove. Like if we get people selling Viagra and posts in other languages about politics and all sorts of weird like actual spam. That gets posted to the point where like we can't compromise on this setting. But there was one in particular where at least for me, what kind of triggered me on it was there was a B4R, and there was degrees of B4R. Like some B4Rs are like, oh yeah, sorry to hear that, and then there was others that really gave you like that sort of like that chill down your spine. We
need to call somebody.
Yeah, like there's definitely, I'm not trying to like snuff out anyone's problems, but there were some that were a bit more, I guess, serious than others.
Yeah, there were some that were much more urgent.
Yeah, so that's when we had to. Yeah, that's when we had to make the auto mod start. If someone says B4R, it's going to tag like, hey, here's all these resources. Not just like suicide hotline, but like what were the proper channels and discourse to go to talk to somebody.
Yeah, but there was one in particular where it got put in the spam filter. The person who posted it, like if you flared your thread B4R, or if you like mentioned it, and we had like a lot of other like keywords, like as much as we could reasonably do with the tools that we had, it would either like, as Spy said, approve it or post resources, something at the minimum. But this one, the person somehow managed to completely avoid all of that in their post, and it just got put in the spam queue. And it wasn't like an alt. It wasn't like too much of an alt account, I guess. Like, it was someone who was posting actively on Reddit for the last 2 days, and like it was a disturbing post history. And they posted that thread. They posted it at a really, like, it was like 4 a.m. USTZ or something. Like, and no mods were on for a few hours. I logged in. I saw it. I approved it right away and sent the guy a message like, "Hey, are you okay?" And they never responded, and the account was never active again after that. It was just kind of like one of those, like, this system is just not working. It's gotta go.
Yeah, so, that was one of the big things that really cemented the fact that we aren't equipped to handle that kind of thing. Like, our subreddit and the mod team is not equipped to deal with that kind of content and those, like, sorts of people in crisis looking for help. We're not equipped to deal with something that's sensitive and to deal with it in a very timely manner.
All right, well, that leads into the next question, which is, what do you guys think Ariv's place is in the EVE Online community?
That's kind of a hard question to answer, and like, I've thought about this one a bit.
Can you repeat the question?
What do you think Ariv's place is in the EVE Online community?
I mean, personally, it's evolved a bit over the last couple of years or so, because r/Eve was very like NC.pl and test centered. There weren't a lot of Goon posters on it, right? But like over the last year and a half or so, there's been a giant influx of a lot more posters. So that's kind of opened the floodgates for a lot of different posts as well. And it's definitely now like a very big dumping pile of everyone's opinion on what's happening in EVE. So there's definitely like a very big like push to what's happening in the game, because I can't remember what it was, but there was a post a while ago about something, and then somebody just went out and did it, and so it's a really big like driving force behind what people do in EVE.
One of the big things about the subreddit is that the subreddit has survived longer than most other posting communities in the game at this point, and so it's kind of become the central community for a lot of posting. Like Coad, the forum, the old corporation and like politics forum on the Evo forums is dead. It doesn't exist anymore. The original Kugu forums is gone. Scrap Heap, like the original Scrap Heap, is defunct. Like it's the last it's the last forum that's been around since the old ages, where there were a whole bunch that were all vying and developing their own communities and stuff like that. So the EVE subreddit over time has kind of become a blend of all the people who used to post on these forums and those communities, mixed with a whole bunch of shit posting and a bunch of terrible Redditors.
Do you think that was exacerbated a little bit by CCP's fairly harsh moderation stance for quite a long time, but then they switched over to a new forum, and kind of at the same time they started using Reddit themselves by default? I know Seagull did an AMA a while back, and then we started seeing a lot of devs posting on Reddit. They've subsequently pulled that back a little bit. But do you think they effectively promoted EVE as well?
I know for a long time that they had a soft policy of not posting anywhere that wasn't the EVE forums, and that they did their absolute best to direct people to the EVE forums. But I think eventually they realized that people are going to congregate like wherever they decide to congregate. And no matter how hard you try to push them to official forums, you're not going to get everyone there. Plus, the entire like social, like community engagement strategy of most MMO companies has changed, so that engagement on Reddit is very much the default for most of these companies now.
Pretty much all of the major gaming companies, that's the case.
Yeah, I know that there are like Blizzard people on the World of Warcraft subreddit sometimes. Pretty much every MMO I've ever seen has devs and community managers that now post on the subreddit pretty regularly.
One thing kind of unique about us in terms of MMOs with a pretty poppin' community, I guess, where people actually know each other and talk and yada yada. Most other MMO subreddits have a more formal relationship with the developers. Like I know RWow, their mods, I think some of them are like, under NDA for a bunch of stuff, and like they work together pretty closely with them. Same goes for a ton of other subreddits. REVE is not really that way at all. Like, I mean, there's sometimes communications with CCP, like we'll talk to them, like, but it's mostly just like Falcon, because Falcon's a cool guy and we'll talk to Falcon or whatever. But the subreddit kind of by design, like it's the spiritual successor to Kugu, and Kugu was a spiritual successor, I think, to another one before that I'm drawing the blank of the name, but they kind of existed because of the T20 scandal once upon a time, which is kind of like almost to spite CCP. And since we've sort of inherited this mantle, it kind of drives a wedge in there passively.
Yeah, like the subreddit really took off and became extremely active when Kugu died. And before that, it wasn't all that active, and it didn't have nearly as much of like its own culture as it does now. It was mostly just people posting updates and alliance news and SoundClouds of corp updates, and that's about it. Once Kugu died, a lot of the shit posters from Kugu came over to the EVE subreddit because they needed somewhere to go. Because if they posted that kind of shit on the EVE forums, they would get banned in like half a day. So they all started taking refuge. And if I remember right, Scrap Heap was really stringent with their rules as well. And they didn't have a ton of room for jokes. So most of the people who just wanted to shitpost about EVE moved to REVE and just kind of set up camp and then never left.
Yeah, that was a nightmare to moderate, by the way, when they came over that time around.
It looked like a war.
I mean, I was a moderator of the original Kugu, and it was so much worse than the original Kugu. It was so much worse.
It was pretty funny, but interestingly, Scrap Heap, Fail Heap is still about, but it's just a clique of people talking to each other, and they don't even play anymore. Whereas I'd say here you've got a mix of people who probably don't play but still read about EVE and actual players.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting how REVE is very much taken over from like EVE News 24 as the site for, and like TMC at the time, like those sites declined a lot when REVE started getting popular as far as a place for breaking news and for discussion as well.
Yeah, I think that's passage because I'm an idiot, so I don't read much, and r/e is just a great way to get information out in short bites quickly, right? So, like breaking news, goons are shit, and they've just lost a load of supers. It's like, oh, there you go. There's a battle report. You don't need much more about that, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why it's such a popular site in general.
I thought that was a good thing though that Chevis did, where he said stop posting empty sort of like topics that have just got a battle report in, like actually post some commentary. And it's kind of weird to see because I'd got used to that then by like one sentence OPs and then people just replying as if they were on the phones. And this is what makes me wonder if it's the switch over from people's desktop users to very much phone users who are actually posting and monitoring stuff during the day. They don't want to read 2,000 words. They need it in bite-sized pieces.
So Chevis, you say, huh? One of my chopped liver. Yeah. Nothing to do with the BR and AAR thing.
Well,
it was Chevis and I, so you were half right.
Oh, all right.
I got to my own horn there. But honestly, what you've seen with Reddit, and it's not that REVE is special. It's more so that Reddit is and dig before it. The whole media paradigm has shifted. Like it was all about blogs and like, little like news columns for more, dedicated niche topics for many years. And then people wanted more and more bite-sized and centralized synopsises of an entire thing. And that's why sites like Reddit that have a built-in decay system for news articles, where over time your karma is worth less and your thread drops off the front page, that keeps it fresh and relevant. And when you're going to it, that you're getting stuff that's today. You're not getting like an article that's been there for a week and something that you may have already known or not. That goes hand in hand with, word counts for old blogs. Like, unless you're particularly interested in something, typically what you're going to do to find out if something even exists, like you want news, you don't know what the news is yet, you need someone to tell you or provide that information for you. So you go to Reddit, you'll see, oh, there was a big fight between these two people. And it's, you're going to find comments, like a brief synopsis, or sometimes you'll get people that were like, FCing on either side talking to each other. But generally speaking, without those outliers, you're going to see that topic, and then you will go to places like INN, for example, and get the detailed write-up if you're interested enough. But Reddit is the filter to that. That lets you pick and choose. If you're more interested, then you go to the blogosphere. If not, then you're gonna stay with Reddit and just keep moving on.
Well, even more than that, the fact that Reddit allows content from multiple sources, like the entire aggregation factor of the site, really lends to this kind of thing. Like, one of the most useful things that I've used subreddits for, especially news subreddits, is when I wake up in the morning and I want to read the news, but I don't want to read like article after article after article. So I just go to one of the news subreddits to just give me the gist. Just like give me the TLDR version so that I can get out of here. Right? Like you can go through, you can pick out like the three or four things you like, read them in their entirety, and then just be like, all right, I know the gist of most of what's going on, and I know everything I wanted to know about everything I give a shit about. And now I can go do my whole day. And you can do that much faster than if you had to like sift through a news site and look at all their articles and stuff like that, especially because news sites are often missing stories that other outlets are carrying at the same time. And I think that's part of what led to the decline of sites like Eve News 24 and TMC. Like TMC had a very, 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 very antagonistic relationship with the subreddit, to the point that they wrote a very angry post saying that our Eve wasn't a community. And I think that their inability to embrace the fact that a lot of people just want the gist, and Reddit is a good way to centralize and aggregate all of that, is what led to a lot of these places losing a lot of their readership.
Yeah, and I think that sort of attitude definitely persists, especially among older Eve media sites, is this idea that Reddit is the lesser form of Eve information, when in reality there's actually more on it at this point in time. If you look at our Eve, it's very much central to community discussion and for a lot of news items.
Well, the problem is, and why it's considered, I guess, lower brow, is anyone and everyone can say something and be a part of whatever that, we'll just call it an article, that news article may be, that thread basically. So you
unless we ban you.
Yeah, unless we ban you, which happens a lot. But anyway,
can I just redirect here then and ask, do you think that the upvote downvote mechanism is democratic, or are there problems with that?
People like to complain about it because it kind of goes into like mob rule, I guess. But honestly, it's fine. It becomes a problem on subreddits bigger than r-Eve, because it's just a never-ending spam of threads. But on r-Eve, typically you get, it depends on what's going on, and there's a lot, like some days are bigger than others. If there's a big fight, it's going to be a big burst of threads. But typically you're going to see a new thread pop up between every 30 minutes or so, something like that. So what that means is the barrier to get on the front page, since it's a competitive system with upvotes, like you need to trump the person below you in order to get on the front page, is pretty low. Like you can get up into, getting number 1 or number 2 or number 3 slot, that's pretty competitive. But like to get on the, I'm just going to go to r-Eve and the threads that appear before me immediately, to get to the bottom rung of that is really, really easy to do. And I think the upvote, downvote system works really well there.
And it's really not that hard to get on the front page. It takes maybe, 30 votes, 40 votes, I think back then. Maybe now it might be a little more, but...
Well, like it depends on like how quickly the votes hit. Like 10 upvotes in the first 5 minutes are worth, several orders of magnitude more than 100 upvotes at hour 5. Like that's just, the older the thread is, the less each karma point is worth. Like that's just how Reddit works.
Yeah, I think most of the flaws that come with the upvote downvote system are mostly only applicable to the largest of subreddits, or subreddits where the kind of engagement and buy-in with the subreddits is much higher. So like real world politics subreddits and stuff like that, where the motivation to manipulate and like sort of mold the outcome of the front page is much higher. But on smaller subreddits, game-related subreddits, things where like the real-life stakes aren't very high, it tends to not be much of a problem.
Even just somewhere around the size, honestly, of pretty much our Eve is right about the sweet spot. I know with other subreddits that some of us mod, it's a really, really, really big problem, that karma barrier from when you go from like the original top 10 to 12 threads to when you're below that. Because as he put, especially with real life politics, like people try and actively control the narrative there. They want certain news to be in the front and other news to be hidden away. So they'll go and, you know, brigade it, like organized upvote and downvote things. But like our Eve's brigading, a lot of people will bring this up like, oh, this is brigading, this is brigading, this is brigading. Sometimes they're right, but it's really not that big of a problem for the subreddit, because I've seen how it works on other subreddits, real life politics ones, where brigading is literally, there's people with bot farms sitting there that will apply 3,000 karma to a thread within 2 seconds all at once. And then even there'll be bots going that are sometimes hard to discern if they're bots or not, like posting comments and all sorts of other things where like there's real narrative control going on. Like it's night and day between what our Eve sees and what other subreddits see.
So in terms of that, what you just mentioned about brigading, I know it's really difficult in this environment, especially because people will post a thread to their alliance mates and it's going to get brigaded no matter what you do. Have you ever had issues with the global mods over that? Like, have they come to you and said, you know, you
with the Reddit admins?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think we ever have.
We have.
Yeah, there's not like that though, where, you know, if a fleet's pinging, you can easily tell when a thread is being fleet pinged, because you'll see everyone from that fleet start posting, you know, GF or get fucked or you know, dumpster, whatever. But the ones where we did need like admin intervention would not be those sort of brigading things. Would be more or less it had more to do with during like the Goon Wars, where there was some possible fuckery going on, but the admins at the time would be just really unhelpful. You know, they won't tell you much if you, as a mod, are trying to figure out if people are using alt accounts or, you know, there's an actual organized effort to suppress submissions. They'll just be like, okay, we'll look into it, and then they'll almost never get back to you.
Yeah, they treat mods as any other user. Like,
yeah, like one of the biggest things is that not only do they not really engage with all but the largest subreddit moderators directly, they'll often take action against groups that are like brigading on the site that we had no fucking clue were brigading on the site, like no idea, and we'll just find out that their domain has been banned one day. That's how we found out that the Matani.com got banned for a little while. They got domain banned. We had no idea that they were doing that, and the admins
I had an idea.
Banned the whole domain from the site.
Sorry, what that one was like, there was like one alliance.
No, they made a post in our Eve online instead of our Eve, and it was inactive. So you see this one like TMC post in like 300 votes, whereas everything else was like 10 or 5.
Oh yeah. Our Eve online is completely dead. Like,
that was
there is like top of all time.
As far as I know, that was one of their FC. I think it might have been DBRB who pinged that thread though. TMC got domain banned as far as I know, because they told their writers on their Jabber that they should go upvote every TMC story, and that someone gave that to the admins, and the admins banned the domain. But as far as I know, nobody on the mod team like knew about that shit until after the domain was banned, and somebody came to us going, "Hey, so we can't post TMC anymore." We went, "What? What are you talking about?" And then we tried to post it, and it said that we weren't allowed to post that domain. Like, we had no idea. The Reddit admins are very, very non-communicative or communicative with most communities, and they don't talk to us about most enforcement stuff like that at all.
Yeah, literally zero dialogue.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever spoken to like a Reddit admin about anything ever.
Has that ever happened with any other Eve-related domains that you found out after the fact they've been banned, just out of interest?
Yeah, actually, but it's pretty obvious ones, like the what's his name, the Evocations Adhera guy, that crazy guy who went on a doxing spree.
Oh, that dude.
Yeah,
that dude was bonkers.
Yeah. He was also back, by the way, posting videos on a newbie alt and demanding to be unbanned because.
Yep.
Yeah.
He has all sorts of demands that he can keep making them. I think it's hilarious. And he goes after us on Twitter too, by the way. Fun fact. But anyways, yeah, I actually talked to him about it, and I went and I guess opened a ticket, which is literally just PM them. That's all you do. And I was like, hey guys, like this guy makes alt accounts. He was on like WordPress or something like that, one of those like blog hosting sites that like wasn't globally banned. And I was having a hard time making rules to ban his blogs and respawns, because if I just ban that entire domain, well, now we're gonna have issues because there's legitimate stuff on there too. So they actually went already before I even messaged them. They replied back and they're like, "Oh, we already like took care of this guy thing. Like we received a bunch of reports of doxing and other stuff, like completely independent of anything the mod team did." And they nuked him, and I went and I checked the spam queue, and he was on a new account posting from a different blog, and whatever they did caught it and immediately spammed it. So even if I would never unban that guy. That guy is perma-banned for as long as I shall live. But even if I, for some reason, had a change of heart or someone else did, we couldn't. Like he's toast.
I tried to have a voice call with Mr. Invocations Adhera, and it pretty much resulted in him telling me like he pretty much told me that I had no understanding of anything outside of clicking an approve or remove button, and I would never be anything in the world. He said that he was a very successful man, and I would never be such a thing. Therefore, I should show him sympathy and unban all of the accounts.
Sounds like some James Beam shit.
Moving along nicely. Shall we talk about your favourite threads?
There are some good ones.
Who wants to explain Avocado Man?
Oh God. I'm so
confused.
I don't even remember how it started. I just remember all the memes that came from it.
I kind of remember how it started. Was someone posting IRC log, or not IRC logs,
yeah,
but the
log.
corporate
From PL.
I think it was both RC and in-game logs of this man who, like, originally he was just a pretty cool guy, just part of the crew, just chilling. But then he starts talking about, his personal life, where he's apparently this avocado merchant that goes to Mexico.
He makes millions of dollars a month selling black market avocados over the Mexico border into the U.S.
He put a gun in someone's mouth, and then and like the next day they died from sepsis of the gun. Like what?
And mind you, he was saying he was black market avocadoing in amounts greater than like the entirety of Mexico and like California produced.
It's so great. And this played out over the course of like after those logs. I'm pretty sure he came onto the subreddit and he started threatening to sue people, and that he would sue them under Texas defamation law for posting those logs. And he just self-destructed over the course of like 3 weeks.
Yeah, he was just spazzing out in damage control. I think he messaged us asking for IPs of, all the posters. And
he demanded IP addresses from us so that he could add them to lawsuits as John Doe's.
Which we can't see, by the way. We can't see.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Subreddit mods don't have jack.
Yeah, we can't see.
And then he said that if we didn't give him the IP addresses, he would sue us for obstruction.
How many times have people threatened to sue us?
Why is it always Texas law? Like, is Texas law harsher than everywhere else?
Texas law is another story.
Texas is like the Quebec of Canada, but for the U.S. It's a special place.
James Beam is probably one of my favorite sagas that the subreddit has ever had. That dude was a riot. Oh my God.
we've had a
And he posted before in the subreddit too, I think. Like he made some big thread before he became, revealed as this insane nut, or it was actually pretty decent, RE thread, and then now we had this. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, he was like a pretty pedestrian poster, and then one day he just decided he was going to lose his goddamn mind.
Oh,
what can you say if you really like guacamole?
Yeah, this guy.
I told that dude to go to the Reddit admins and see how that goes. I wish I was there to see what kind of response he would get.
There's been a huge uptick of situations like that where like someone just has an epic meltdown over the course of like a week on the subreddit, like especially over the last 2 years. Like since Avocado Man, he kind of set the precedent.
He didn't set the precedent. He set the bar.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's the standard at which we judge meltdowns.
I've had there's been plenty of nuts on our Eve that even before you guys came along. Well, Derb was around, but he was, I don't know, playing League of Legends or something. I don't know, JK. But there was one user where I remember they were getting in a tiff with someone from Eve Radio in game, and the person came to me was like asking me, hey, this guy's been harassing me in and out of game. Like, can you take care? And this guy was really just being like real shit in the suburbs. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll ban him. Fuck it. And then this guy comes after me, and he was really weird. He was telling me how he was gonna tear us all apart. He was gonna tear down the subreddit. He's gonna kill the game. He was apparently telling me he makes 20K a month RMT EVE Online, and he says he's going to kill the game.
This was the guy who came at you and was like, I'm a Machiavellian political mastermind, and I'm going to destroy your community.
Yep, and he was just making... He made a legion of alt accounts every time.
I remember this guy.
Oh, God, he was driving me and Nuwadi nuts with his banter.
The effort some people will go through to just be a shitter because they get banned or something is unreal. Like, it's unreal. There are people who have made in excess of like 80 or 90 accounts just because we banned one of them and told them to not come back. It's nuts. It's so great.
The best is when the community will turn on someone and like they'll get downvoted, or by the way, I'm gonna say this for the record, we cannot edit downvotes or upvotes. We have no control over karma. Holy God, stop asking me to like remove downvotes. I'm just gonna laugh at you. Stop.
Yeah. I think Jib can sympathize with the mob coming at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May or may not have. I mean, you were there, Spy. You got.
Oh yeah, because I had I think I've had at least in my mod career, I've had at least like maybe 2 or 3 threads calling for my removal because I either removed someone's comment saying gas the Jews or something stupid.
Yeah, or some equally vile shit.
I feel pretty proud to be part of one of those threads for the removal of Spy 6. Actually, that was a pretty good time.
I don't know why you guys are proud of getting like 2 or 3 threads. That's how many Chevis gets in a week.
So get that. I guess we'll bridge into the mod strike, but what Judy said is very, very relevant to it. There's just some things about that whole mod strike that people don't really know, because the mod strike was kind of partially originated by Judy Makaka, who is also a mod.
Now explain it in detail. Go on, Judah.
Okay, so I'm obviously I'm one of the more new mods, right? So everything I do is kind of, is this correct? And there was a post saying because in this week there was a lot of action in the Goon War that was happening in the north, and there was a lot of very low tier posts that were very repetitive. They didn't have much to them. So it was kind of getting to the point, well, we'll start to clear it up a little bit and make sure that only posts that have actually got some kind of a thought process behind them and they're more than like one word posted to the Reddit. So I started removing threads that weren't specifically, something that's actually valuable on clicking on. And then about a week or two later, this post comes along saying that this person has noticed a very drastic change in the Reddit, that there's been a lot of posts being removed, comparing it to the site that shows all removed posts, etc. So like I didn't think it was a troll post at all. And I serious posted on it, and I said, well, here we go. Like, we remove certain posts that bloody blah aren't very good, and then Jib comes on a couple of hours later. It's like, oh god, what have you done? Like, like, I don't know, what have I done? Like, so is this bad? And like a couple of hours passed, like we're still talking, and it's like, oh god, this is like, and the post had like shot up by this point. It was like the top post, and there's hundreds of posts. We'll have to look at it and try and find it again, but it was incredible because we were like, well, what do we do? And then Jib just suggested, okay, well, we'll go on a strike. We'll give them what they want, a day or a couple of days, whatever. So we set a week for us to go on strike where we don't really do anything. Obviously, we were still like looking and making sure nothing, there wasn't doxing or like very harsh racism being posted on there. But it was a certainly entertaining week, to be sure.
My favorite part of that whole week was when there were a whole bunch of people on the subreddit who started organizing to only submit quality posts to undermine the strike.
Yeah. There was quite a few people doing that.
Yeah, and they started going around and they started PMing a lot of the people who were posting like shit posts and just went, hey, we need to cuck the mods. Why are you posting garbage just because they're on strike? You should only post good stuff.
It's worth mentioning. There's another part of the story, and that would be Olmeca Gold. If you're not familiar with Olmeca, he's kind of an infamous poster all over the place. Like, not just Reddit, I think on Evo too. And this guy is just like, he's always making like meta drama threads about wherever it is. Like, nothing's ever perfect. He can do a better job. Blah blah blah. Whatever. But Olmeca posted a thread, so just another typical mod bias thread. Like, they come up pretty regularly, and I can tell you right now, the only mod bias that's in there is an extreme bias against people posting dino pictures. Like, which is, you're gonna get some mod bias, friend, if you do that. But he made a big thread and started like complaining about how like pretty much every moderation policy under the sun was wrong, and everyone should just be able to post whatever they want, let upvotes and downvotes decide, and go from there. So, but he did like several of these, and he kept like harping about it. So we just kind of at the point where, what, fuck it. All right, Olmeca, you're getting your wish. Mods on strike, enjoy. And within a day, he's like, what you're doing is really immature. You guys should come back and mod. Like, basically, like low-key admitting that like he was horribly wrong. Please come back.
Well, he came on the Discord after that and started like complaining at all the moderators. Like, he was like hardcore bitching out like gibberish. I believe he was bitching out Zeldin too. And that's when I like logged in and I saw this. And of course, I had to start shit with him. And it like resulted in like talking shit with him for a solid 20-30 minutes. And then I like banned him. And he went on like this massive rant about like how the RE Discord is completely biased against like Bombers Bar and how it's just like a pro-goon hangout or something like that.
The bias against Bombers Bar thread?
Which is rich because I'm a Bombers Bar pilot, so...
Was that the point where you renamed yourself to all NC Dot? Because I remember like you all renamed the mods to like NC Dot because people were accusing you of bias.
That was before. That was in response to J. Mary Kate. But for this for this one, damn, I forgot what I was gonna say. I'm starting to drink. This is a problem.
We do that shit all the time, though. But part of the reason is because we're never not being accused of bias.
Yeah, we get a lot at the moment.
Even I, Spicix, with no alliance, I'm accused of bias somehow.
Yeah, like we get accused of protest bias because I'm on the team, and then we get accused of anti-goon bias because I'm on the team, and then we remind people that gibberish is in goons. And
Goon
then they just turn around and accuse us of having a pro goon bias instead, like the same person.
Oh no, but that was even funnier because during the flare war, they were like, "We need a goon mod on the team." I'm like, "Well, okay, here you go, gibberish."
They didn't know.
Silly fools.
We wanted DBRB.
Actually, as heavy readers of the mod team, have you noticed that flares are being abused now to the point where they're completely irrelevant?
Yeah, that's actually a tech problem. No, she's talking about the editable flare because people can set their own flare, which is actually a tech problem. So right now, technically, there's another moderator that people don't really know about, and it's Capri Sun Craft Food. And Capri's kind of a backdoor mod. So Capri built our new flare bot and made it so we could have as many flares as we could. Like we were hard capped. You only get a certain amount of CSS space for flares. And we hit the cap. We had people, entire alliances. Claire actually in this Discord was one of the people in one of the alliances waiting for an alliance flare for months. We just had to wait for someone to disband to get rid of the flare and then add a new one. So that's why we went to the new theme and all the other stuff. So Capri built that all for us. But in the process of doing this, he coded in editable flare where you could just sort of select editable from the menu and then you can change the text, but not the icon to whatever you want. But with the way it updates, it requires him to basically rebuild the bot from the ground up to get rid of that. So we're kind of in this spot where I'll just disable editable every day. But there's still this 8 to 10 hour window where you can set your own flare. But yeah, that's what you're talking about, Marsha, is kind of just a symptom of that existing when it really, really, really shouldn't.
I mean, I think it's hilarious. I think we should keep it.
Well,
if you manage to get in under the wire and you get your flare edited, good job, buddy.
Say that, but then Lugia exists.
Oh shit, you're right.
So, you moderate the subreddit around Lugia, not the other way around.
Whoa! Don't forget Kessie, gibberish.
Well, Kessie was he's more of a terror of Discord.
He shit up the subreddit some too, for a month.
Well, one thing I wanted to mention with that mod strike, actually Spy brought up, was Bomber's Bar. That was another thing I forgot about. So Bomber's Bar really, really pissed me off to the point where I banned myself from modding their stuff because I'm gonna go ham on every single thing they post out of petty rage. But so I worked with one of their alliance leaders to get them a flare, and I did quite a lot of work for them. And help them out and talk to people because we still have a limit on how many flares we can have. It's just a lot greater now. And Bomber's Bar didn't actually make the cutoff for that. They didn't have enough raw people. They're not a traditional alliance or corp. So it was kind of like a thing. I basically just gave them bias in their favor. Where I kind of went out of my way and got them a flare in there and worked with Capri and set it up so they have their own special thing. And within a day of this happening, they brigaded a thread, and this actually goes to your brigading thing as well. And it wasn't just a lot of times people I posted a thread in their voice comms on a fleet or whatever. We can't really do anything about that, and everyone does it. Just don't be a dick about it, basically. But what Bomber's Bar did is basically said, go and upvote this and put it in their fleet MOTDs and on a Discord. And it was a really focused brigade on a thread. And we got about 1.5 million screenshots of all of this. So we have to act on that. So I removed it. And as opposed to banning OP, the original poster, I was being nice to him. I was like, look, man, you guys are kind of new around here. Let me just tell you that we can't do this. So I have to remove the thread. And they came at me saying fucking goon bias and posted all sorts of nasty, ugly things in their own. I was getting screenshots all of it, all kinds of bad stuff. And basically we're trying to say the subreddit was controlled by goons and it was all goon bias and we were out to get Bomber's Bar and all this stuff. Literally a day after I went out of my way to help them. So it was also kind of in response to that.
Well, that person just recently reappeared on the subreddit, and I had to delete one of his threads, and like he kept talking about how he's like dodging the ban or whatever, and like how the mods are like dumb. So I was like, haha, I got you. I started banning his alts, and he kept making more alts talking about like how good he was at dodging the ban. And then like I banned one finally, and he like sent in a mod mail saying like, oh, I just hate Bomber's Bar because they're Bomber's Bar. Like he was just like trying to start shit with me. It was like hilarious watching this guy have like a breakdown because I deleted his post.
That happens all the time. It's so.
It doesn't happen all the time, Derek.
Dude, we still
Maybe
there's
to
still
you because
that.
you have a test bias.
Well,
Okay,
speaking.
okay.
All right,
That's
speaking of
fake news.
redirect. So speaking of kind of news about people that potentially you might have banned in the past that might want to return, or that you might want to unban. You don't have to answer this, but if you do, now's the time.
So you're referring to two people in particular, I'm assuming, which is Sort and the Big Red Boat?
Whichever you prefer.
So what do you mean though? Like, are you addressing them potentially coming back?
Well,
or
you can talk if you wish about people you've banned and then unbanned in the past with whatever detail you want, or you could talk about future announcements.
So in terms of like I'll say in terms of banning people who have a established post history on the subreddit, I mean we kind of passively treat it a little bit differently. Like if someone doesn't post here, like we don't care if they're space famous or whatever. But if they're not actively posting on the subreddit and they come and they, you know, for the first time they like break a massive rule, like we're gonna clamp down on them. Like, but if any poster, and again, it has nothing to do with space famous or not, you know, has long established post history. They've been there for months or years or whatever, and then they step out of line and do something. Typically, we look at that a bit differently. Like you get more leeway for, you know, a one-time screw up. Keep doing
I was gonna say, I don't think we look at it differently. I just think we look at it a little less harshly because they already have a long established behavior of behaving and like engaging in good faith with the subreddit and the community at large.
Yeah, that's probably a much better way to put it. Like if you're breaking a rule pretty blatantly, like, you know, we're still gonna come down on you for it. But if you're just some one-off alt account, you're gonna get a permanent ban. Versus if it's like an established account that's been posting for a while, you know, might just remove it and ask you not to, or it depends. Every little thing comes down to, you know, context, right?
Yeah, there are a few things that we really don't have leeway on because of Reddit's global rules. Reddit has a global rule, for example, against doxing, right? Even inadvertent doxing can get your subreddit in trouble if you don't enforce it. So we remove and ban people really aggressively for any kind of like doxing or pseudo doxing behavior. Even if they're regulars on the subreddit, we tend to be pretty aggressive with those kinds of bans. Because if we don't enforce it, whenever we see it, the subreddit itself can get in trouble.
But you kind of come into a problem of like, what is doxing? Like, it sounds like it'd be a really simple definition, but like, okay, well, what if it's like an accidental thing? And then like, okay, what did they leak that was accidental? You know, like how damaging is it? What was the context of the discussion? Like, it's really hard to. It's really hard to define in some cases and kind of moderate accordingly. Like, what should this person's punishment be? Like, if someone comes and they're like, yeah, like this person's name is Jim and they live here, here's his phone number. Yeah, that's pretty clear cut.
Yeah, that's the easiest ban in the world.
Yeah, but if it's like, okay, someone with an established post history again and no real history of this, and, you know, talks about a certain topic, comes in and like accidentally post something, which is a situation that is pretty, I'm literally referencing a situation, you kind of get in the spot where it's like, well, now what the hell do we do? Like, you have to take a hardline response to doxing, but on the other hand, you know, the other side of the coin, well, it was an accident, it wasn't super bad, you know, he didn't leak someone's phone number or work information or anything like that. So you kind of get in spots where it really sort of depends on community opinion, and like
not only that, but it's an ongoing conversation that we have as a mod team pretty much whenever any sort of inadvertent doxing happens at all. Like I know with the situation that we're talking about, I always advocate for being really aggressive with bans for like inadvertent doxing and removal, because it'll force others to be more careful when they post content that could inadvertently dox people, and it forces users to err on the side of caution and not inadvertently leak people's personal details, because once they actually get posted, there's no way to take it back, right? Like it's going to be there forever, and people, like, it's going to enter collective knowledge. So I'm always in favor of being really aggressive whenever people inadvertently dox, just so that it becomes less likely in the future.
On top of that, Jib, I also when you approached me about that, I only gave it like my sort of blessing to sort of do the unban. It was when you said the offending party was they've forgiven them for doxing, and I don't know how we want to handle that going forward.
Honestly, just case by case. Like, I've thought about this a lot.
I don't think there's really any way to manage this stuff other than case by case, especially when it comes to doxing and personal information.
Well, like you can't really like make a rule on it. Like, I mean, there is a rule like no doxing, but like because it's such an sometimes hard to define word.
Yeah, it's a nebulous term, so you can't really set criteria.
Yeah, it's like making a rule that says like don't be bad. Like, okay, well, what is bad? There are a lot of shades of gray. I don't know. This topic's hard to sort of talk about when you're not on text, because like via text, you can always just delete or edit or kind of like really narrow down your wording. But you're kind of in a position where you don't want to say the wrong thing, because what if someone hears you and then interprets it in a way that you really didn't intend, and then now you're in the spot where it's like, oh, well, this mod said this, so therefore what I did is okay. And you're like, well, you're technically not wrong.
I think if we're gonna talk about like doxing and what we banned for, the official position of the moderation team, I guess, is that the moderation team is going to use its personal discretion and judgment when it comes to every individual case of doxing, and that we don't necessarily know what is doxing until it's presented to us.
The problem with doxing is there's no like direct doxing besides someone being like, oh, here's insert person's personal information. So you have to view it 100% case by case. You can't just straight go, oh, that's doxing, oh, that's not doxing. It has to be reviewed by like not only you, but you need to like have a group of peers, such as the whole mod team, to review it, because some person might pick something out that another doesn't see. And then
it's
a thin line between correct and incorrect.
Yeah, it's something that you really have to manage by consensus and just hope that the judgment of your peers isn't dog shit. Hope.
Hope and pray.
Some hope. But yeah, that's pretty much a takeaway. There's nothing said, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we can't give a concrete definition of doxing, because there's so many varied ways in which you can out somebody via personal and pseudo-personal information, whether it's intentional or inadvertent, that we can't give any sort of predefined criteria or definition outside of the most blatantly obvious.
Just be careful of what you post. That's that's all.
How about this? It's Eve. It's a video game. Talk about that. Why the fuck everyone talk about doxing all the time?
I mean, EVE Online is the game where you go to someone's house to cut their power so you can disconnect their Titan.
Oh, I hate that story.
That's a legit story. I've never heard that.
It's a really, really old like urban legend.
Yeah, it is an old. Yeah, but
it's a really old urban legend that there was like a Russian pilot who went to cut the power of one of the first Titan pilots in the game, and then didn't do it or did do it. It's a big like old. It's literally an urban legend about EVE Online.
It's a ghost story.
Yeah, it's a ghost story about just how fucked up EVE players can be.
I don't know if I believe it.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I mean, I believe he probably got disconnected, but whether that someone came with like, bolt cutters and was snipping the power lines or something.
Yeah, that's one of the oldest like urban legends in EVE. That's one of the first things I heard when I started playing, like back in 2010.
Oh, same. I think it's like a rite of passage.
All right, so final thoughts on the podcast, and I'm sorry my headset's a bit rubbish. To wrap up, you've seen a recent upsurge in rage posting because of Pearl Abyss acquiring CCP. So what are your reactions to that? And also, can you talk about the mentality of the pitchfork wielding mob and how that affects your day-to-day?
So when it comes to Pearl Abyss, I don't personally care. One of the big things that happens in the gaming industry a lot of the time is that gaming companies will buy other gaming companies just because they want to diversify like their platform, or they want to diversify what genres they're in, and oftentimes they're pretty hands off, right? Just like a lot of conglomerate or like large companies purchase smaller companies and then just let them do their own thing. Oftentimes companies are pretty non-interventionist with products that are profitable. I don't know if that's going to be how it is with Pearl Abyss, but I think the people that assume that Pearl Abyss is going to buy CCP and then immediately press upon them the Pearl Abyss business model, I think that's a very premature judgment, because it's very common in the gaming industry for studios to buy other studios and then just let that studio continue to function with autonomy. Because EVE is a profitable game, right? It's profitable. CCP has a bunch of real estate that holds physical asset value as well. The purchase value is in line with like 10 years of revenue, which isn't particularly abnormal for purchases. And oftentimes companies are just left to continue functioning autonomously even after purchase, so long as the product is successful. So I think it's a super premature assumption to say or assume that Pearl Abyss is going to intervene in the company's business practices, because CCP's already pretty successful.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that a company's going to step in, spend $400 million or whatever it was, and then go, okay, now we're going to go kill your game. Like this completely stupid thing to do.
Worst contract scam ever, by the way.
Yeah. Well, like what's worse? Okay, it was owned by what, like a finance company prior? Like what's worse? A company that literally its only motive is profit.
It was owned by companies solely for the sake of investing. It was not owned by a fully fledged video games publisher.
But it was owned by like a single controlling entity still, right? Like it's kind of like the point.
There were three different entities. There were three different.
Okay, so that is a little different.
I think.
Yeah. Sorry. If EVE Online was like still like in the Kickstarter phase or something nonsense, then maybe you'd be worried. But there's just too much of a history and established content right now for EVE Online to start making drastic changes. We're going to start seeing a lot more cosmetics in the shop, and it's going to become super pay to win. I mean, I don't know. It's like we already have elements of that sort of, but it's not extreme, and I doubt Pearl Abyss is going to be that unsubtle.
Well, the thing with the pitchforking is it's mostly like people who are like just saying stuff to get a reaction, and there's like people who like I guess like aren't as involved in like the subreddit like meta posting, like knowing that it's like pretty good bait, and then they're like thinking that that's going to extremes. They're like taking these really bad shit posts, and then they're like thinking, oh wait, he actually means there's going to be like bunny ears on Titans or something. It's just like completely.
Yeah, it's just a lot of just mostly shit posting, then rabble rousing. I think just people just posting.
Yeah,
like they're just bored.
One of the other important things to remember is that CCP is not a particularly small company. If I remember right, their 2016 yearly revenue was $86 million. Like, they're not small. So a $425 million valuation isn't that far out of line for a company with that kind of revenue that you plan to purchase and just allow to continue generating that revenue.
Wasn't their net 2 million? I don't remember.
I don't remember, but one of the big things about Eve is that they do a lot of development stuff. They've had problems getting new projects off the ground, but they do a lot of like other development, and they've bought other IPs in the past. I know that they have a lot of development stuff going into like some mobile shit right now, and Pearl Abyss has been looking to expand into mobile, so that could be part of it. But CCP also has a lot of proprietary server management like design in order to run Eve, like for single sharding MMOs and stuff that would be desirable to a lot of companies that run MMOs or whose primary product is an MMO.
One of Pearl Abyss executives who was like overseeing the buyout made a comment about mobile, that they basically, one of the reasons they bought it was so they have the IP, the Eve IP for mobile games. Because like the Asian gaming company market right now is just like the rest of Asia, I guess, just cash rich. So like they're buying up IPs and for often inflated prices, which I think was the case in CCP, honestly.
Yeah, and one of the other things to remember is that oftentimes a lot of these foreign market products don't actually interact with the main product at all. Like the free multiplayer Halo Online game that was going to be released wouldn't have interacted at all, but it was literally just Halo on PC for free. And there are a lot of other games that have been like that in the past, where the primary IP doesn't interact with the licensed IP and or purchased IP in other areas at all. So if they were buying the IP so that they could make a sci-fi mobile game in the Asian market, there's a good chance that it would just never interact with the main game.
One thing to note about the other point, which is like community outrage and kind of managing that, that's something that I've been doing a lot of. I'm not the only one, and like other mods do it and they have whatever. I'm just talking about from my own perspective, like not doing the ego trip here.
I don't do it. I'm with them. You're all shit.
Yeah, but getting in front of that has been a special experience. Like when Sai invited me to be mod, like I was like, oh yeah, I'll help around here. Like our Eve, it's cool, it's fun, we'll be fun and sticky posts and it'll be cool. Nothing crazy could happen.
But I cursed to hell.
Oh my god, was I wrong? It was like a life-changing experience. But we've been put into a position repeatedly, again, especially over the last year, where mods have to jump in front of like either in-game issues or like social issues that are coming up in the game, like things about like harassment, toxicity, that nature. And like we kind of had to like sort of lead the discussion on the issue, which is really bizarre. Like, I don't know about you guys, but typically I don't know who moderates a forum I post on unless they happen to post a lot and then I notice they're a moderator. Like I don't look for mod names. I don't look for what they're saying. But with our Eve, it's become like a necessity. Like you kind of just you have to be really careful with everything you post. And I'm sure every mod here can attest to how anal I am.
Yes.
With specific, like the way we word things and like what we say and like how to like sort of deflect or control like the direction some conversations go. Like,
basically try not to piss everyone off.
Yeah, like this you're gonna piss some people off.
But you are gonna piss someone off. So the game is to get as little circles in the piss off ring as possible.
Yeah, and a lot of the reason that we put that much effort into it is because we like doing it. We like our Eve. We like the community. We like the terrible, terrible shit posters that are all over the fucking subreddit. And like we want to manage the community and make it better, right? There are a lot of people across Ed and Eve who like to build communities and build groups and then foster them into being better. But like that's why I think most of us do it. We like our Eve, and we want to see it be. We want to see our Eve be its best self.
So did that propel you beyond what you initially expected? Did you expect by becoming like a moderator on a Reddit subthread that you'd become a community leader in your own right?
So we kind of, the community leader thing in particular, like we sort of laugh at that. Like it's like we're not community leaders. But
yeah, we're not leaders. We're just moderators, really.
Yeah. Very humble approach to that. It's literally just
we don't lead shit.
But there's been cases where like some of the things like I've posted that I thought it was just nothing special. This, I didn't think this was anything that could even gain traction. I was just talking about something in a thread, like a pretty normal thing to do. And like suddenly the subreddit just shifts, and now that's the topic of conversation because of mod setting. Like that's caught me by surprise numerous times, and I have absolutely did not expect that going in any way, shape, or form.
I think it is important to note you guys do have more sort of, I think, influence over the Eve community than you give yourselves credit for. I think definitely more than anybody in like Eve Media or a lot of like larger alliance and Diplos won't have the same level of influence over as many people as like as moderators.
We can, but I don't think we don't just take that approach.
I mean, we have a rule against exerting influence as moderators.
Yeah, the whole strategy of the team is do as little as possible. Like
it's not even that though. I mean, we do our best to explicitly not influence things. We manage quality sometimes, especially during high activity periods, like during World War B. If you posted a shit, like low effort, bottom tier meme, like we would remove it because we're getting like 8 times more posts an hour than normal, right? So in that respect, we do exert influence over the community, but beyond like quality control and like some policy stuff in terms of what we allow and don't allow on the subreddit. Outside of that, we do our best to explicitly not exert influence on the community as best we can.
Because it's just too much effort.
Well, not only that, but
we
the
have
community
rules against it.
Yeah, not only that, but the community's better at being the community than we are.
Like, for example, so we have like internal rules, and they're kind of soft-spoken, but no one really violates this for fear of der ranting at you for 17 hours straight. Because trust me, that's a punishment worse than the subreddit could inflict on you.
I'll do it.
You will.
I just put them on ignore.
But like, okay, so like goon posts. I'm a goon, right? So I can do negative actions against goon posts. Like if they're breaking rules and it's a removal or it's a ban or something like that, that's the sort of stuff I can do. But like if it's pro goon stuff, like something that might help goons or something that, like someone posts an anti-goon post that like I think should be removed, like I got to go to mod chat just like every other mod for whatever biases they may have and get someone who's not affected by that. Like for example,
that's generally like the ground floor for what we allow mods to do in terms of their own affiliation.
It's been a thing forever.
Yeah, I personally go even further than that, and I don't moderate anything that involves Test at all. Like if it's an entity that Test is currently at war with, I don't moderate anything related to that group at all.
Including their clever way of getting out of moderation work.
Oh, it works so well because Test is in so many wars now.
I saw it and I was like,
it works so well.
He went to war just so he didn't have to work.
Oh my god, yeah, Test is special. I'm kind of in a different spot because like the goon topic is sort of dominated like Reddit's general topic for quite a while, especially World War B obviously, and like what was happening after that. Like just goons they're just a focal point. I mean, they're the biggest alliance by far. It's just natural that that's going to happen. So like I have to be extremely careful, like in the way I moderate, because they're just too big a percentage of the topic that like I can't just like completely ignore everything. So like that's why it's like, okay, well, pro goon stuff, something that would help goons, that's what I can't touch. But if it hurts goons, then I can go ham and absolutely do the trope of fuck goons, because I've banned a lot of goons.
My alliance is dead, so I can do like really whatever I want, in my opinion.
I have no alliance. I can do whatever I want.
Yep, there you go, we're winning.
Poor Shelby.
That would matter if you did anything. Ooh.
I do like.
Well, it's kind of a new thing with like Judy and Shelby, and there's actually a third Kawahi. They sort of became moderators, kind of because I just sent them the invite, sort of, and didn't really say or do anything. Like I just kind of invited them.
Who was the guy that we invited to the mod team as a shitpost, and then we looked 2 hours later, and he all he had done was he had actually gone and cleared the mod queue.
That was Stunt Flores. Me modded Stunt of all people, and then like just like forgot about him. Woke up the next morning. He's like actually doing work, like good work.
Yeah, he was just like, I'm a moderator now. I'm doing moderator stuff. And we're like, we added you as a meme, dude.
That Zelda's argument, I remember very vividly. He pings me. He goes, Jib, why did you give Stunt the ability to sticky posts when he makes people sticky? If you know anything about Stunt Flores, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, no, he just started. He's like, oh yeah, I'm mod. I just do work now.
Yeah, he's like, well, I'm on the mod team, so now I do mod stuff. And he cleared the entire mod queue, and then he cleared the entire spam queue, and then he didn't even make a shit post about it. He just went to bed.
Would any of you like to do a pitch right now for potential mods? Because I know Gibberish has tried to expand this. So, like, if you know active people that are on the sub that you think might make good moderators, do you want to make a pitch?
All right. If you like the RU subreddit and you hate yourself and you like doing work, let us know.
Also, to add to this, you have to know a lot about finance, because Gorski's going to talk about finance in that mod chat. Like,
oh Lord,
like so much. Like every investment he's ever made, there's a chronological order, fully detailed.
He's the living incarnate of Wall Street bets, just so you know.
To be fair, he also posts pictures of his shoes, so I'm not sure that's a good advert. Judy, thoughts? Shelby?
Well, he would have been on this, but I screwed up because we had a limit on how many people could be in the little chat for it, and I actually sent Gorski the invite, but I didn't realize that it said like, oh, this chat was full. So like I totally, whoops, sorry, Gorski.
Is that the reason we didn't have Chevis with us today?
Chevis is off in the mountains.
Look at the silence.
I don't think you guys are ready for Chevis.
Chevis, yeah. But also, yeah, he was busy. He's busy in real life too. But Gorski has a bigger impact on subreddit moderation than pretty much everyone thinks, and a bigger impact on the sub than pretty much everyone thinks.
Funny enough, before Jib came around, I think Gorski was like the only other semi-active mod I could sort of refer to for mod actions.
Yeah, he's never like super active, but he's consistently active. Like he's always on several times a week. He does his thing. But the thing about Gorski is he's kind of like he's sort of immune to community backlash in certain ways, and it makes no sense. But like he could
he just doesn't care.
He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck.
He leaves, and that's...
He doesn't give a shit, but then everyone's okay with it, and they're fine with this. Like, oh, it's okay. But like, he could I'm not saying he did this, but like, say he was like, I'm just gonna delete all pro goon posts, and then he did it. I'm 100% convinced that he would just get away with it, and that would be fine. And even goons would be
like,
okay.
oh, that's Gorski. He's just being a Gorski.
Yeah, like he's just immune. But he was a big inspiration for the mod strike, because a lot of the drama that popped up out of it was because Gorski just arbitrarily decided he was going to delete like every meme, like all of them. without exception.
One night, the meme decided that he also hated memes.
Yeah, like typically we would do it is we would remove like really low effort ones, but like if they caught traction or we didn't see it or if there's a lot of comments, we care about comments way more than karma. Karma's irrelevant. Comments are where it's at. It's literally a chat forum. But like if it was on the front page, number one post of the day, and it'd have like 400 comments, like we wouldn't remove it even if it would kind of like violate the meme rule, right? Like damage is done. Let people talk. Gorski, on the other hand, had slammed down on that fucking remove button. Zero hesitation.
Yep, he was just like, nope, get him out of here. Get him out. He's removed every single one.
I remember during the mod strike, all of you actually went AFK, and it was like left to like me and Judy to like control the flames.
Joke's on you, I'm always AFK.
That's kind of...
You can lie to yourself, Spice6, but you can't lie to me.
It was special with you two and Kawahi, by the way. Kawahi was also among the best. Like, it was kind of like a meme, but then it was like, all right, well, Shelby's been a mod of the Discord for a long time. So we'll just talk about Shelby, and like no one really cared, and we kind of needed the help anyway. So I was like, okay, well, Shelby's mod. Judy was sort of like a meme, and then now they're mod. That's all that happened. I don't know, but it's fine, so it worked. And like Kawahi demodded himself.
Do you guys remember earlier in the podcast when I said we didn't really have a process for appointing new moderators?
Yes.
Do you guys remember when I said that?
Yeah.
It's a mess.
There's literally...
So your recruitment pitch right here is going to be, if you hate yourself, join.
Yeah, if you like RE and you hate yourself and you like doing work, let us know.
If you can endure... So we've got two ranters, as you are painfully aware of, Marsha. And Kurt and everyone else. If you talk about something subreddit related and Dur or myself happens to see it, you're going to get just a massive fucking wall of text, and it's just going to be a never-ending stream of messages. If you can endure that level of special behavior about every little thing, even unimportant stuff on a subreddit, come on down.
I just remember me going... I messaged Spy6 and I said, Spy6, let me be mod. And then Spy6 said, message Gorski. And Gorski said, message Gibberish. And Gibberish said, message Spy6. And we went on this loop for a while. And then Gibberish messaged me and he was like, oh my god, can you stop? You win.
So, on that note, that is the official strategy of applying to be an RE moderator, is to just DM them apparently until they give in.
Well, Shelby likes to think that was the case, but I would have modded Shelby like 6 months ago if he would have just shut the hell up for a while.
Okay.
So it can backfire.
Right. All right. So I think we're gonna wrap up on that note now. So we've gone for, is it an hour?
9 hours. And Ken.
I don't think that's right.
Oh, Dur's here. That's a believable number.
We've gone for a period of time that I lost track of. This has been New Eden Newsroom. We have a website, newedenreport.com. Please check that out. We also have YouTube, Twitch, and a Patreon. We also have shoutouts as well from each of the guests. So, from the top, Spy6. You got any shoutouts?
I get to go first. All right. Well, shout outs to all the Purple Fleets and to Jane, who used the mod RE moderation and Discord to platform his new career into Overwatch. Miss you, buddy.
Okay, Shelby.
No, I got nothing, dude. Sorry.
Oh, all right.
You tried.
Yeah, good one.
That was an attempt. All right, Judy.
Shout out to Jordan for being the best Reddit poster ever. And Gene Lena, he's a real good one as well.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
Jordan, can we cut that out? Oh man.
I'm amazed we haven't spoken about Gene once this entire talk.
I didn't want to.
No one wanted to.
Okay. All right, duh.
Listen, fuck Pro God, fuck Sapporo, Subarus are shit. Follow me on Twitch, multidollarmediaempire.com.
Awesome. and gibberish.
Twitch.tv/derherder. Twitch.tv/derherder. Twitch.tv/derherder.
All right, and my co-host Marshmallow, have you got any shout-outs today that aren't Sullivan Harden?
No, shout out to the whole RE moderation team who are very amusing and good guests.
All right, and on that note, that's been the Newsroom. Thank you.